here on TV. We are happy to have you tuning into Channel 95 this morning. We're coming from the breakfast show. Hope you did have a nice one. And this is the business day this morning, and I'm your host, Doreen Kapampa. Remember that we are live both on your top star decoders, Channel 95, also live on Facebook, that is Millennium TV Zambia. Always on the business day, we do share with you some exciting stories, business stories that we get to read out to you, and of course, good conversations right here on the business day. Remember to always join us for any questions. If you want to contribute, we always accommodate you on our Facebook page. You can simply drop us some comment. Don't forget to also share the page as well. But today we do just get straight into our conversation. This morning we're sitting down with the economist Kelvin Chisanga, who's going to just run us through the 2025 national budget performance, also the 2026 budget expectations. Very soon we'll be getting to hear what the budget has, and of course ensure to be with us even as we delve into our conversation this morning. Good morning, Mr. Chisanga, and welcome to the business day.
Good morning, Darlene, and good morning, dear viewers. Thank you so much for having me. I've come back home.
Definitely, welcome back home. We missed you.
Sure.
All right, this morning, just to run us through the 2025 national budget, and just the entire question is, how has the UPND government really run with this budget?
Okay, so the beginning point is maybe I'll have to look at the budget in this particular fiscal year.
Okay.
Starting from January, we had a budget that was speaking into 217.1 billion Zambian kwacha. Okay. The main essence was to institute some levels of resilience and also models of resilience in a way. What we have seen over time is that the budget has performed with a mixed performance. Looking at the tax system that has actually interplayed, particularly the VAT, mineral tax, excise duty, and many others. We've seen that there has been mixture in terms of performance, others reaching targets, others failing to meet targets. Yeah. Then in terms of expenditure columns on the budget itself, we've seen some good elements happening where we have been running deficit, which started at a high level of about 6.4 billion Zambian kwacha in the first quarter. In second quarter, we experienced now some reduction, which came to about 4.5 billion. And of course, we've been decelerating, going toward a small figure in essence. What we're talking about today is that we've got a small element which is actually coming to almost like 3.1 billion Zambian kwacha in terms of the deficit, as opposed to what we have been seeing. So overall, if you look at the macroeconomic objectives, I think we are speaking some positive development in terms of the environment, which basically even made a very strong convergence elements in the second quarter, where we saw some elements like giving a fuel, exchange market, and many others also made that strong level of holding. So what we should be able to say is that the budget has performed with a mixture kind of situation, where we have seen some challenges on the VAT as well as mineral royalty, and also on the grant side, because obviously when you look at the scenario of global market system, we've got a chamber that also works out with an income level of grants and donation. So the U.S. cutting, healthy funding and many others that impacted on the budget as well. But notwithstanding to that, I think overall we have performed some levels of resilience, even within the healthcare situation. So what I should be able to say overall is that I think the model of resilience has triggered a number of key elements holding strongly in most of the key sectors. And that's the reason why even we have seen this complementing with the sectoral performance, where we are seeing agriculture standing on a very good performance at 74%, and also agriculture standing at, tourism standing at 27%, mining standing at 16.5%, and information technology also standing at 17%. So overall, what I should be able to say that we have done the best in terms of the budget performance, despite some lingering effects. Yes.
But generally, what are some of the key drivers of economic growth in 2025, and just how has the budget contributed to this growth, and what sectors have shown the most promise?
Okay, the main economic growth that I've actually pointed out substantial, significant performance in this year are basically issues of mining sector, information technology, agriculture, and also tourism. These are actually main so much of the pillar supporting the budget performance. What we have also seen in terms of just overall economic response and feeling, we are seeing a number of key fundamentals speaking now with some complementary elements, especially when you look at the external system as well. What we have seen overall standing very strong as well is that the bilateral and multilateral support in terms of even consolidating the debt issues has also given that strong elements into the economic production that we are able to see. Much to this also is support that is coming from key stakeholders, where we are seeing the central bank also having a strong grip, ensuring that the money does not have erosion in terms of its price effect, and also the policies are holding, where the central government also is making sure that some of the policies are not left to loose hand. So all those are factors that have actually been able to, given the situation as it is right now, and including many Zambians actually. We have also participated in so many ways where we have now cultivated the bumper harvest in this year. I think even when it comes to you people also in the media, you're also doing a good job. That information passage into some people, audience out there, it's also very helpful because you are considered to be part of the governance system. And that's the reason why you're called living post-estate. So you are part and parcel of the governance pattern, which also helping to help a number of things in the process of igniting to that economic good balance. Yes.
But what could be some of the key challenges that this budget was really faced with in 2025?
Okay, so the main really challenges are coming from the performance of productive sectors. Obviously, looking at the primary resource sectors at first level, in the second quarter, in the first quarter, we had a challenge because we are complementing with the windfall effect of COVID. I mean, drought, which has actually been able to take us into this direction. Yeah. So for us to just get to be climatized with the system of this year, I think we started picking up in March. That's the reason why even when we look at the Forex market performances, I think January and February was quite tensy, but we've seen the performance has even gone slightly above 15% in terms of positive performances. And again, also when you look at the key commodities like fuel, copper, we've seen some good elements as well standing strongly from that perspective. So the main issue is that maybe it's the issue of coordination in between, especially when it comes to energy supply source. That has meant to be a persistent challenge, which is actually being facing right now. So I think the more challenge is more to do with the volumes of business that we actually cultivated in this year. We have not been able to do so much to actually interplay into excise duty as well as VAT aspect. And VAT is a consumption tax, so we haven't done so much of the business around to interplay into the tax formula.
Well, but then what could have really been done better to ensure that this budget really performed to its best capacity?
Okay, maybe we could have looked at the changes that we have seen in the education sector, where we have enrolled about 2.3 million pupils. So it's important we should have made a plan even to have a private sector also interplay into what the government is doing. The support that is going in the education sector is quite huge, and it requires that we need to have an economy which is oiled, so that we can actually be meeting some of the needs and demanding pressure that the sector is posing. Much to this also is that we need to look at a situation where we can have private sector to interplay, complementing what government is doing most of the schools. And again, in terms of health system and health care, we need to create something that can be more like a saving pot in the form of medical trust. What we need to do with the trust itself, it should be a fund that can actually be helpful even to complement with what NIMA is doing, because obviously NIMA is having a challenge when it comes to certainly bills that are coming from there. Maybe there's also need also to get health promotion aspect. It's important that we need to look at how best we can create revolving fund within NIMA. And the medical health trust can also be able to help change the narrative. And we expect maybe in the coming budget, we should be able to speak of health funds that should be able to serve effect from that perspective. Then what we should also be able to do in terms of mining, I think we should have done an aspect of policy moderating element on the artisan and small miners, so that we can also start to interplay a critical element from that perspective. Because what we have seen is that the policy cover within the mining sector has a blanket nature in terms of trying to appeal, where it even goes to artisanal in the same way as the large scale. So that's what we need to look at. Also, we need to assess a number of programs around CDF, where we've seen that, of course, CDF has really made some complementary effect on the grassroots level, but there is a need for us to enhance a delivery and transparent system, which should be able to trigger that confidence within the citizens as well. So a number of things that we need to put in place as we can speak. But I think we have done a quite good job, because this year has stabilized a number of key economic factors where we have seen that it has posted a recovery phase, which is quite dynamic as it is. And what we are seeing is that I think if we are to go with this strong base of microeconomic environment and also sectoral performance that we are seeing from different angles, we should be able to land the economy on soft landing, even when we are going toward elections. Yeah.
Well, but then what are some of the models that you can propose that can actually be put so that we can have a better performing budget even as we go forward? Because we are now having a good picture. We're expecting something better in this coming budget.
Okay, so what we need to have, or what we can put in place, is actually three things that I would propose. One, we need to have a mineral wealth resource fund, which should be able to help Zambia whenever we are having challenges, especially with the commodity changes that we see on the international market when it comes to copper. That mineral wealth also can push a number of other elements in terms of value addition. That is just from the mining sector, sort of linked. Then two, we need to have infrastructure bond that can just be participated by the local Zambians and diaspora Zambians, but that bond can actually help to build roads, to build buildings, and many other stuff that we can be able to use from there. If we were to even dissect a bit into this aspect of a bond, particularly with the diaspora Zambians, I think we have found a situation where Zambians want to invest in their back home, but they don't have a vehicle. So the infrastructure bond can help them to change the narrative and can even support government from that point, especially with the budget implementation aspect when it comes to projects and many other infrastructure requirements that we need to see from there. Then three, we need now to sustain ourselves with the health care, ensuring that we put in place a medical trust fund, which can work parallel with the NIMA. Because obviously NIMA has been facing challenges, I mentioned. If we can have the medical trust fund, I think it can even now get more stakeholders to put into the pool so that we can have more resources from that perspective. So that's what I should be able to see. If anything, it even goes into the expectation of the budget, where we should be able to see that Zambia has reached a point where it needs some shock absorbers, serious shock absorbers, and these are the models that can actually be able to be helpful in those demanding pressures that we are able to see. Yes. Well,
are there any policy reforms that you can also really point out to, even as we expect something better in the upcoming budget?
We expect the budget to rationalize the incentives and also to ensure that as we in the process of restructuring our local tax structures, we need to look at how best can we get that friendliness as well, and scale down some of the complexities that we have in the tax levels. We've seen a number of difficulties where we are even paying tax at different points. So maybe with the aspect of withdrawing tax or withholding tax, I think that is also one element which we should be able to see, because the complication of tax structure also is one element that hampers growth in the economy. especially when it comes to the issues of SME development. I think we need also to refine the SME ministry to see how best it can have a practical touch. The 2026 present a very powerful opportunity window for us to consolidate a number of things, especially that we have stabilization that has taken place in the economy. Maybe it now need to transmit the fiscal stability into macro, and perhaps also we should be able now to see that the tangible benefits are reaching the communities as well. So there must be a direct link now as we go into the 2026. So meaning the budget is stabilization power that has actually endeavored to achieve in this year. We'll be able now to transmit much quicker into next year. And there must be support in most of the sectors that are growth driven, capacity built, able to make sure that we have the best way we can transmit the good benefit that we are experiencing up there. So meaning there must be a quicker direct exposure to what is happening at that level in terms of the local people.
Well, that speaks to inclusive growth, Mr. Chisanga, and most of the people out there that may be watching don't even really pay attention to what the budget is about. They say we don't even benefit. But with that, how can the 2026 budget promote
maybe we can
inclusive growth?
We can make it more practical, because you see, the budget, it's an important aspiration that need to be put light on the chest. It's something that speaks into what we are seeing. For you to go on the good roads, the budget is working there. For you to go to the school, to hospital, so the budget is linked to our livelihood. It's not something that is very far. It's a practical sense of element which basically works for us. For me, being also who's doing business, to be paying tax, so that I see what I'm doing from there. In fact, what basically works out that if I pay tax, then my children are able to go to good buildings with schools. I can pass, my vehicle won't be having a lot of challenges in terms of, road maintenance and all those things. So in other ways, the benefit that comes with the budget are quite immense. And you cannot just pinpoint to say this. Some of these are even more intangible aspect of benefits. But at the end of it, what we see today, even as we are having peace today, the budget is working because there is money that has gone to defense. People are defending, actually making sure that they are providing security all over. So the budget works everywhere. Yes.
When we speak to inclusive growth, Mr. Chisanga, how can the 2026 budget promote inclusive growth, particularly in supporting smallholder farmers and also vulnerable households? Okay,
so we know for sure that the budget key point element will be more to do with the upscaling social protection. And social protection translates into different factors. One, it can be the youth and the mother support, girl child education, which is also part of what has been happening. Then it can also be the common factor like social cash transfers and also social cash for work as well, and many others. So what has happened that the budget is totaling toward social enabled solutions from that perspective. And much to this also for the enterprises out there, it's also coming to an element where it's speaking to issues of energy diversification policies, ensuring that there is energy reforms that are now speaking of growth given and also stabilization of the market. Then there are also element of value addition from agriculture point of view, meaning we have more food, we will not be able to have inflationary effect from that perspective. So there are a lot of intervention that the budget also speaks in terms of policy moderation and instrumentation from that perspective. And what we see, models that are being put in place, that some sectors that we see which have actually been facing challenges like agriculture and health, they are basically looking forward to see how best we can put incentives and tax rebates to ensure that there is a growth and wider participation from that perspective. Because from that, we can now ignite some elements of positive economic development from there.
Definitely. Or speaking to the 2026, budget expectations, would you actually, pinpoint some of the priorities in this budget? Really, what should be the top priorities for the 2026 budget, given the current economic context and development needs?
Okay, so if you look at the budget share, we expect a number of interventions, maybe even just from the health, as I mentioned. Health has been shaken in this year, owing to the fact that the grants has underperformed. But we expect it to shoot toward health to ensure that we have that equilibrium in terms of trying to create that level of balance. Then education has also been facing a bit of challenges in terms of disbursement delays. We expect at least some of this to expedite in terms of disbursement of education funds. Then we also expect a number of tension around environmental issues. This year we experienced an environmental and hazard situation. So we expect some intervention from there, meaning the budget share should be able to also give a good scalable allocation to this, so that we mitigate some of the impact. You see, the issue that people along critical levers, they will not be able to get water, and they will not be able to do farming. So it's important that we need to find some interventions, and some of these actually may even be coming from social protection sort of interventions. Then we expect also the mining sector to scale down with the police around artisanal, small miners, and many other key stakeholders from that perspective. Then in terms of VAT, I think the businesses that are doing production and manufacturing sort of businesses, I think they need also to be looked into to see what has been a problem or pressure point in this year for them to not perform to the peak levels. And again, the issue that we also need to look at, how best can we create an environment that should be growth given, especially when you look at the SME profile that is demanding there. Maybe also we look at issues of government security as well. What we have seen that there is a small appetite that is taking place from the government point of view, especially when it comes to maturity payments. There must be a way we can also try to reprofile our domestic debts as well, even if it's seeming to be a key challenge in a way, because once we tend to restructure the local bonds or local loans, it can be a difficult situation, because some people believe that we can destabilize the financial market. But again, it's important to reprofile to see how best we can work it out to make sure that there is a sound and confidence that should be built from there. So a number of things that we should be able to see from this. But again, when it comes to policy guideline, I think we need to look at the forecast view in which we should be able to create a market that can sustain even in the midst of electoral cycle. Maybe we also need to continuously work with the IMF to see how best we can still be able to consolidate the gains that we have actually been attending from the macroeconomic convergence differences point of view. So over and above, I think what I should be able to say that we need also to see how best we can complement a strong touch on the profile of the consumers out there, the people in the various communities, so that we see how best the benefit of the budget and whatever is happening from the macroeconomic and macroeconomic activities also from that perspective. So overall, maybe my assertion is that there is a need for us to also get to have national committee on economic matters to just assess our performance and also be truthful about what we have been doing. And again, also it's an important aspect that the current governance system should have a plan in which they should also channel in communication, which should be able to be helpful out there. So a number of things that we can touch and can keep going talking about. Thank
Definitely.
you so much.
Well, even as we'll be winding up, just to the people that are watching this morning that wonder how they can really have a voice or really have a say as a citizen when it comes to the budget, how is the uptake really when it comes to suggestions? Because right now we're speaking about the expectations, but do they really reach those officers, those that actually speak for us? How is the system like?
Okay, so with the budget turning out to be differently operated now with under the IMF, I think it has really now given a shape where we've got an independent and designated office which is dealing with budget. I'm sure for some of the people that are staying in Osaka, there is the office just right behind Mandayu. which is just purely budget office. And that office, going forward, the budget demands that we need to have, people that can be more like councillors, or people that can be more like agents to the budget to ensure that particular sectors of the economy are performed according to the expectations.
Yes.
For example, if there are some mentions of reaching a certain benchmark within a mining sector, one person like Doreen can say, okay, for me, I'm going to be an ambassador to this area of budget, and even if I don't get paid as a Zambian, I'll make sure I want to be monitoring what is been happening in the mining sector throughout the year, with the budget pronunciation and all those factors. So there is that open window now, because the budget is now a people-centered budget, where it's also, of course, working on input and output factors as well. So it's something that all of us should be able to create interest and see how best we can contribute to the good of this nation.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Chisanga. We really appreciate for joining us. The Business Day, you can give your closing remarks.
Well, I think I would say it's important to understand where the country is going and also the trends in which we are moving in, considering that a number of things have actually been happening, starting from the 2021 up to today, and also, of course, next year will be quite a challenging year, a year where we need to make sure that we have fiscal consolidation. We need also to balance on the social protection. We need to also work with the IMF in a way. So you can imagine this would be a unique feature coming next year, where the IMF is right in front of us whilst we're going to the election, where the budget is demanding discipline, and where the electoral demands also are there. So a combination of the two, the discipline on the budget, the electoral demand, that is something that is different altogether. So we just hope that we can remain resilient, and also we can see how best we take Zambia forward. I think for me, I would say Zambia's development requires all of us to be participatory and to participate with that mind of patriotic, not patriotic of a party, but patriotic of Zambian, so that we can take ourselves forward.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chisanga. We look forward to hosting you again on the Business Day. Dear viewers, this morning on the Business Day, we are taking a look at the 2025 budget performance review, also the 2026 budget expectations. Thank you so much for having tuned in, speaking to that. It has been our economist, Kelvin Chisanga, who did join us, but we'll be taking a short break. We'll be right back with the Business News.